It was a bright and sunny morning, with the golden sunlight streaming gently through the windows, casting warm patterns on the walls of Sarah's room. Birds were singing outside, their cheerful tunes filling the air, but despite the beauty of the day, Sarah felt a heavy weight on her chest. Today was not an ordinary day. Today, she had to face something that made her heart pound faster than ever. She had to speak in front of the whole class, something she had always imagined would be easy, yet now seemed impossible. She had prepared thoroughly for this moment, writing down every word, practicing each sentence over and over in front of the mirror, repeating it until it sounded perfect, but standing in front of her classmates felt terrifying. Her hands were slightly trembling, and a nervous flutter rose in her stomach as she got dressed for school. She took a deep breath and reminded herself of all the practice she had done. She thought about the encouragement her teacher had given her last week. "Remember, Sarah," her teacher had said with a kind smile, "courage is not the absence of fear. It is taking action even when you are afraid. Speak from your heart, and the rest will follow." Those words had stayed with her, repeating in her mind like a comforting whisper. She packed her notebook carefully in her bag, checked her notes one more time, and left her house. The morning air was cool and fresh, but the nervous energy inside her made it feel heavier, almost like she was carrying a backpack full of stones on her chest. As she walked to school, she passed familiar streets and shops, noticing for the first time the small details she usually ignored, the way the sunlight reflected off a window, the soft sound of leaves rustling in the gentle breeze, the aroma of freshly baked bread from a nearby bakery. Despite these small wonders, her mind kept returning to the speech. She imagined the classroom, the chairs neatly lined up, the bright whiteboard at the front, and her classmates' expectant faces. What if she forgot her words? What if she stumbled and everyone laughed? Fear tried to take over, but she shook her head. She had faced hard things before, and she could face this too. When she arrived at school, her friends were already in the classroom, chatting softly. Some were joking and laughing, while others looked just as nervous as she felt. Seeing them made her feel a little better. She realized she was not alone in feeling anxious. Her best friend, Emma, noticed her standing by the door and waved enthusiastically. "You'll do great, Sarah," she said. Her voice was warm and confident, and it gave Sarah a spark of courage. She smiled back, feeling slightly lighter, and took her seat, trying to calm her racing heart. The teacher entered the classroom and greeted everyone with a cheerful smile. "Good morning, class. Today, we will have presentations. Remember, the goal is not perfection but to share your thoughts with honesty and confidence." Sarah nodded silently, gripping her notebook tightly. One by one, students began speaking. Some were quick and clear, while others stumbled, yet the teacher's encouraging words helped everyone continue. Finally, it was Sarah's turn. Her heart pounded in her chest as she stood up, slowly walking to the front of the class. Every step felt heavy, as if the floor itself was resisting her movement. She could hear the soft murmur of her classmates, some whispering, some watching curiously. She reached the front and looked around. All eyes were on her. The silence felt deafening, her mouth felt dry, her hands clammy. For a brief moment, she felt like running back to her seat, pretending she had forgotten something. But then she remembered her teacher's words, and she drew in a long, deep breath. "Take a deep breath," she whispered to herself. "Speak from your heart." She opened her notebook, but soon realized she didn't need it. She had practiced enough that the words were already inside her. She began to speak, her voice soft at first, almost trembling. The words came slowly, but she continued, thinking of all the ideas she had prepared. With each sentence, her voice grew stronger, more confident. She spoke about her topic with clarity, sharing examples, telling small stories, and explaining her ideas in a way that made sense. As she spoke, she noticed her classmates leaning slightly forward, listening attentively. Some nodded, some smiled, and a few even whispered encouraging words. This small recognition gave her even more courage. She felt a warmth spreading in her chest, replacing the fear with a sense of pride. The nervous energy that had weighed her down was transforming into excitement. She realized she was not just speaking words, she was sharing a piece of herself, her thoughts, and her feelings. By the time she finished her speech, her confidence had grown so much that she could hardly remember the fear she had felt earlier. There was a moment of silence, and then the classroom erupted into applause. Her classmates clapped warmly, some standing, and her teacher smiled broadly. "Excellent work, Sarah, you showed great courage and clarity. Well done." Sarah felt a rush of relief and happiness. She had faced her fear and succeeded. Her hands stopped trembling, and a wide smile spread across her face. Walking back to her seat, she felt different, stronger. It was not just about giving a speech, it was about realizing something important. Courage was not about being fearless. It was about taking action even when fear was present, about trusting oneself and believing that one could handle the challenge. Sarah knew this lesson would stay with her forever. She looked around at her classmates, some of whom still seemed nervous about their turns, and she quietly hoped they would find the same courage she had discovered today. By the end of the class, Sarah felt proud of herself in a way she had never felt before. The sun outside was still shining, the birds still singing, but now everything seemed brighter and more alive. She had faced a challenge that seemed impossible, and she had come out stronger. The nervousness she had carried that morning had transformed into confidence, and she walked out of the classroom with her head held high, ready to face whatever new challenges awaited her. That day, Sarah learned that the strongest hearts are not those without fear, but those that keep moving forward despite it. After school, the sun was beginning its slow descent, painting the sky in shades of orange and pink. The streets were calm, and the air carried a soft chill as the day moved toward evening. Sarah was walking home, her backpack resting lightly on her shoulders. She felt proud of herself after the speech she had given that morning. The nervousness she had carried earlier was replaced by a quiet sense of confidence. She thought about the courage it took to stand in front of her class and speak her thoughts. It was a lesson she would not forget. Yet, just as she was thinking about how the day had gone, she noticed something that made her heart tighten with concern. Near the park, a small boy was sitting on the grass, his tiny body trembling as he cried softly. His hands were clutching a small empty space where it seemed a toy had been moments before. Sarah paused, instinctively stopping a few steps away, unsure of what to do. The sight of the boy tugged at her heart. She wanted to help, to comfort him, but a part of her hesitated. He was a stranger, and approaching someone she did not know felt intimidating. The voice of fear whispered in her mind, reminding her of all the times she had felt nervous or uncertain. Then, almost instinctively, Sarah thought about the courage she had discovered that morning. She remembered the rush of nervousness she had felt before giving her speech and how she had turned that fear into strength. If she could face her fear in front of the class, could she not also face the fear of approaching a small boy in need? The thought encouraged her. She took a deep breath, steadying herself. "I can do this," she whispered quietly, her hands loosening around the straps of her backpack. Slowly, she walked closer to the boy. She crouched down to his level, keeping her movements calm and gentle. "Hello," she said softly. "Are you okay? Can I help you?" The boy sniffled and looked up at her, his tears glistening in the fading sunlight. He nodded hesitantly, still unsure but clearly relieved to have someone notice him. Sarah smiled gently. "What happened?" she asked. "Did you lose your toy?" The boy nodded again, clutching his small empty hands together. Sarah glanced around the park. The grass was dotted with benches, small trees, and a few scattered leaves. She tried to imagine where a toy might have been dropped. The boy, seeing that she was genuinely trying to help, wiped his tears with the back of his hand and pointed toward a nearby bench. "It went under there," he whispered. Sarah nodded encouragingly. "Let's look together," she said, her voice steady and kind. The boy followed her carefully, his steps tentative but hopeful. As they approached the bench, Sarah crouched down and peered beneath it. There, half hidden under the edge, was a small, brightly colored toy car. She reached for it and handed it to the boy. His eyes lit up with joy, and a wide smile spread across his face. Thank you so much," he exclaimed, holding the toy close to his chest. Sarah smiled warmly, feeling a deep sense of satisfaction. It was a small act, perhaps, but the happiness she had brought to the boy made her heart feel stronger than ever. For a moment, she just watched him play, pushing the car gently along the grass. The boy's laughter rang out, light and clear, and it was a sound that seemed to fill the entire park. Sarah felt a warmth in her chest, a feeling she could not fully describe. It was pride, yes, but also a quiet happiness that came from doing the right thing. She realized that bravery was not only about big challenges like standing in front of a classroom or facing dangerous situations. It was also about small, kind actions that required stepping out of your comfort zone. As the boy continued to play, Sarah talked to him softly, asking his name and learning a little about him. He told her he was called Tommy and that he had been walking in the park when his toy had slipped from his hand. Sarah listened attentively, asking questions and showing interest. Tommy's initial shyness melted away as he realized she was there to help, not judge or scold. Sarah felt a connection forming, a simple yet powerful bond between two people brought together by compassion and courage. After a few minutes, Tommy's mother arrived, running toward him with a worried expression that quickly turned into relief when she saw her son smiling and holding his toy. "Oh, thank you so much," she said to Sarah, her voice full of gratitude. Sarah shook her head modestly. "It was nothing," she said, though inside, she felt proud. She had made a difference, even if just for a small moment. The mother smiled warmly and guided Tommy home, waving goodbye to Sarah as they walked away. Standing alone for a moment, Sarah took a deep breath and looked around the park. The sun was lower now, and the soft golden light reflected on the trees and benches, giving the world a magical glow. She felt something shift inside her. That little act of bravery, that simple choice to help a stranger, had strengthened her heart in a way she had never imagined. It reminded her of the lesson she had learned in class earlier. Courage was not the absence of fear, but the ability to act despite it. Every kind, brave decision added to the strength of the heart. As she continued her walk home, Sarah thought about other times she could be brave. Perhaps tomorrow she would help someone struggling with homework or speak up when she saw someone being treated unfairly. The possibilities seemed endless, and each one made her feel more capable, more confident. She realized that courage was not a single moment, but a continuous practice, something that grew with each decision, each action, and each kind gesture. By the time she reached her street, the sun had almost set, leaving the sky painted in soft purples and deep oranges. Sarah's heart felt full, and she walked with a spring in her step. She knew that the strength she felt today would carry her through future challenges. The lesson of courage, compassion, and kindness would stay with her forever. That day, Sarah had discovered that bravery was not always loud or dramatic. Sometimes it was quiet, gentle, and full of heart. And in that quiet bravery, she had found a strength that nothing could take away.